Welcome to the Inside Groove Show, the Monday night live edition, the show where short track racing rules. My name is Tom Baker from SWM Media, the home of America's racers. And this show, although once in a while we forget which show we're doing and wander off into big series territory, this show covers short tracks, and anything that runs on short tracks from sprint cars on down is totally allowed here. In this case, we're going to talk everything from sprint cars to super modifieds and whatever else happens to come by. Got a very special guest on with us for about half an hour or so. Cowboy Paul Small, an old friend of mine and someone I consider a mentor in the business, who helped me quite a lot when I was starting in radio and announcing and all of that. Paul, still up in New York State. I've wandered south into NASCAR territory down in North Carolina. So that's where we are. Paul, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on. You were at, we'll start with the most recent event. You were at the Oswego Speedway Saturday night, my home stomping grounds, and Sunday morning for the conclusion of the Saturday night program, which got rudely interrupted by Mother Nature, who really jumped into a very bad mood and started crying very hard and loud Saturday night just before the features started. Paul, talk a little bit about, let's start with this. You were back there on Sunday morning. Oswego hasn't done rain dates in a while. I think it's great because it makes sure that for what races are on the schedule, we got a better chance of getting them in. What were your impressions, just, big picture on Sunday morning of the actual rain out portion of the event?
Well, I have to say, first off, I hadn't been to a regular Saturday race night at Oswego in 20 years.
Wow.
I can't believe it's been that long, actually. Yeah. I think it's been 20. My memory is probably a little fuzzy as far as that goes.
Okay.
But when they announced in the grandstands that, okay, we're going to run 11 o'clock on Sunday, I'm like, you know what, this could be all right. So,
yes.
It was, one of those weekends where it was so nice you went there twice. And
never a bad thing.
Yeah. And for people that have never been to Oswego, it is a flavor unto itself. We have short tracks around the country that, have their own character, their own personality. But Oswego is something a little bit different. It's different because of the layout of the facility. It's different because of the cars that run there. It's different because of the way things are presented there. And that, that and the fan base there is a very passionate fan base. A lot of people came back for the features on Sunday. And, I think if you left disappointed, I don't know how to help you.
Boy, I would agree with that. I thought all three features were really exciting. The ISMA race, again, for the second time this year, was just absolutely amazing. Lots of action throughout the field, multiple lead changes, drama at the end. I thought all three of those races were great races. It's so different from night to day at Oswego, isn't it, Paul? Like, it's a whole, there's a whole different ambiance when it's bright and sunny. And to me, it just sort of feels more special because most of the races are run at night. So when you run a day race, that almost, watching it on Sunday morning on Flow, it almost felt like I was watching something really bigger than, than the normal race. And I think all three features reflected that. The SBS class, Brian Haynes, 10th to first, Talon Hawksby deep in the field to win the 350 race. And then of course the ISMA race, good grief. What can you say about that? Jeff Battle coming on in the final 10 laps to steal that one away, and very emotional win for Jeffrey. I mean, you just had to love what you saw.
I didn't know who Jeff was coming into.
You've been on a while.
Yeah, because I kind of sort of follow along with ISMA. I did catch the ISMA show earlier this year at Lancaster.
Okay.
Got the opportunity to see them first ISMA show. I've seen it a good few years. Yeah. And I saw Barnes leading early, and and Ordway catching up to him. Yep. And really kind of thought after about 15 laps, I was like, all right, Mike's just waiting for his chance. He's not going to push the car. He's not going to use the tires up. Yep. He's going to wait for his opportunity. And it came right just before halfway. And when he went past, I kind of looked at the people I was sitting with and kind of did the wave like, okay, cut the check. This one's over. Then that caution came out, and I saw the 14 car was in fifth, and the green came back out. I'm trying to remember the sequence of events here. The green came out. Ordway checks out by a straightaway. Yep. And then all of a sudden, here comes a 14 cars blitzing by everybody, and he runs them down, and I'm sitting there going, who the heck is this guy? He just passed Ordway in a Clyde Booth car. That, is that supposed to happen? And, and then, a couple of people were telling me, oh yeah, this guy's got a little bit of a pedigree. He's fast in everything he drives. And I'm like, well, he just proved that, because if you can drive a super modified like that, you can drive pretty much anything. So,
yeah, Jeffrey is a real talent. He's out of New England. And of course, he is part of the Wickham racing family. And of course, that goes back a couple generations. Very emotional win for him. He's won all but I think 2 of the 350 super modified classics right off the top of my head at Oswego. And
it's something like he's won 6 of them.
I think, yes, 5 out of 7 or something along those lines. I can't remember off the top of my head, but and I think he's already won the next 4, even though he's not going to race in them. But Jeffrey is just he's just a talent, man. He's a great kid. He and his brother Ryan, his family, they're a great family. Ryan also a very talented racer. That was really awesome to see him do what he did. And especially at Oswego, because I think when you get your first win at Oswego in a big block, that's one thing. When you get your first win at Oswego in a big block at an ISMA show, and you put on the kind of last minute heroics that he did, in traffic on the outside, just really, that was a crazy drive to watch. And I'm still kind of amazed by it, to be honest. And, was disappointed that the super modified crowd didn't show out for him in our SWM Power Performance Award polling earlier today. But he got second, 17% of the vote. But it was just fun to watch that, to be honest. And the ISMA cars, you get 23, 24 of those cars. And I've never been one, Paul, and I want to know your take on this. I've never been one to not want to see the passing flag used, but I can't argue that ISMA made the decision to stop using it a few years ago. I can't argue that it has made the racing way better. And I don't know if Oswego even uses it anymore, to be honest.
Well, that takes a page, I believe, from the World of Outlaws sprint car playbook, because they, as far as I can remember, back when we used to call the races, when they would come in to Canandaigua and Weedsport, and Rolling Wheels, no passing flag there. You were on your own. So,
Yep. Yeah, it was just it was a great day of racing, and it's it must have been a bit of a culture shock for you to be after 20 years, because I mean, I guess back you might have, the last time you were there, that would put it at about what, 2006. So yeah, we did have the Aero Supers, but the 350s are new. And the SPS class just continues to grow and
mhm.
evolve. And so that must have been a little bit of a different take for you on what you're used to seeing at Oswego with those three classes together.
Yeah, I think the last time I was there for a non-wing show would probably date back into the 90s.
Oh
I think the
wow.
last show that I had been to was an ISMA show
Okay.
when it ran on a Saturday night. And yeah, I mean the arrow changes are very apparent. Um, I'm kind of I was kind of curious to see how some cars had a tail section with the wing on. Mike McVetti's car, most notably,
Yeah.
and Dan Connor's car as well.
Yep.
But then you had other ones out there that basically, okay, we're going to try to shove the fuel cell as far into the roll cage as we possibly
Yeah.
can, so there ain't nothing hanging off the back of the car. So that was different. Obviously, the front wing setup is different from what I remember when the cars were in non-wing trim the last time I saw them. We were still doing the wide body thing.
Yeah.
I remember, and I think it might have been Mike Ordway's dad driving a white number 99.
Clyde
That
Booth.
yeah,
Yep.
another Clyde Booth car. There you
Yep.
go.
Yep.
The that relationship. I remember that car looking like a white pancake with a roll cage
Yeah.
sticking out of it.
Yeah.
So it was a culture shock. The speeds have increased significantly from the
Drastically.
last time
Yeah,
I
about three
remember.
seconds. Yeah.
Um, and I remember talking to Josh Sikolik at Lancaster,
Okay.
and I asked him. I said, how much does clean air matter to these race cars? And he was telling me that it's basically, now with the wing super like this, you're dealing with the same thing that you're dealing with in IndyCar and NASCAR.
Yep. Yep.
Is that if you don't have that clean air, you come up on somebody, you got to get them right away, or you got to back off and get back out of that dirty air, because you're not going to be able to control what the car is going to do the way you want to. And that's a big difference from where super modified racing was the last time I saw it too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So much of racing has gone that way. And I mean, again, old man yelling at clouds, right? But I just I don't know if I really like it, because I mean, I grew up watching drivers drive cars off the right rear and hustling the car and half sideways out of the corner. You can't do that with these aero cars in any of these divisions, or you end up in the wall. And it just, I don't know. They feel like, it seems like they're too stuck to the track. It's almost point and shoot. And like you said, and Juice Box Josh said, we you that's I'm not, it's not my nickname, but I think it's funny, and so I use it. But Josh said that it's really messy when you're trying to, and so I don't know if that makes the racing better or not, to be honest. I think it's been a struggle to get the super modifieds to sort of that point with the whole, aero package and wing angle and all the things they do to, to try and make good, competitive side by side racing. But the ISMA, the top wing racing has been absolutely amazing this year. Everywhere, almost everywhere I've watched it. Some tracks haven't had enough cars for it to really show. But I mean, gosh, Mike McVetta, I think, has passed more cars this year than I've ever seen him pass in his life, because he keeps ended up having to go to the back for one reason or another, charges his way to the front. it's just amazing to watch. Tyler Schillick's been great, but man, that was fun to watch. Jeff and Michael Barnes, his first ISMA podium for Sorel Racing, their first ISMA podium. It was fun to watch that, and of course, Ordway is incredible, and that car is incredible. So, I hope they put the tail wing on and come and run the classic at Oswego. But yeah, it just seemed like a great opportunity for you to get there. You certainly picked a good show to go to, and you had to go back twice, but I think you got more than your money's worth.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely worth the trip. I enjoyed the 350 Super Division. I've seen them a couple of other places, like that division. The small block supers, I don't remember actually seeing a feature with them at Oswego.
Okay.
I had seen them run. I had seen them run as the limited supers.
Yeah.
Up at Evans Mills.
Yep.
And I don't know if they still have a gear rule in that division, but they did at the time, and they just could not drive well around the Evans Mills configuration with that gear rule. It was not the most exciting thing in the world. And that's not a knock against the drivers, the cars, or the racetrack. That's just, an observation. But this is also, we're talking like, 23 years ago. I was pleasantly surprised at how competitive and how clean the small block super race was on Sunday. Because, they tore some cars up Saturday before the rain came. So
the one heat race, they had that 3-car wreck that that was a mess. I think the 22 car that Mike Bruce was driving, the Gunter car, I think that's that car is done, but I think that team either has bought a car already or is in the process of it. So I don't think that team will be away for long, but that particular chassis, I think, is toast. That was really a nasty one. But I thought the feature was fantastic. And like I said, watching Brian Haynes in that Jeff Carson owned 10 car come from 10th to 1st was really quite amazing. And that car's been fast all year. Noah Ratcliffe, who 73 car, they did some work. The Ratcliffes are just really good with chassis, and they did a lot of work on the front end of that 10 car over the winter and made some changes to it. And Jeff Carson was really excited about it coming into the season. And Brian Haynes is a great race car driver. So to see them come out and do that from 10th place, you don't see that very often in the SBS class. Somebody comes from that deep in the field. The races are too short, and there's too many cars that are so close. It's hard to pass your way all the way up to first. And Brian just kind of made it look easy. I was a little surprised, but that was fun to watch.
Yeah, the whole day was entertaining.
Yeah.
I got my sausage because it's Oswego. You have to get a sausage at the concession stand. I think that's an unwritten rule somewhere.
I'm a hot dog guy. You had to have
like I said, it was a fun experience. It was good to go do something and check out something that I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And, I was left with, the lasting impression of, okay, this place is still cooking along good. Cause I mean, there was a good crowd out there on Saturday, before the rain ruined everything. The racing was good. The show was moved along as quickly as it possibly could be outside of, you're going to have crashes. You're going to have oil downs. That stuff happens. It's asphalt racing. But it was a wonderful experience. And I forgot how loud supers are.
Oh yeah.
Especially sitting in the front stretch grandstand.
Oh yeah.
Because that was the other thing I did differently, Tom, was, most racetracks that I go to, 90% of them nowadays, I'm going because I'm working the show. So I'm in the tower or I'm in some location doing whatever it is that I'm doing. The last time I sat in the stands like a fan and watched a show was probably about 20 years ago. And
Oh,
I
wow.
did that. I went in the pits Saturday. I watched the heat races from different spots in the infield, talked to some people, got something to eat, whatever. And then I went across and went up into the stands. I was going to watch the feature from the stands. Well, then it
Yeah.
rained.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know what? It's going to be a nice day Sunday. I don't know that I want to sit, out in the open in turn one,
Yeah.
but I'll head down towards turn four and sit in the cover grandstands, and it'd be a perfect day. And it was, but when those 24 some odd supers came off of turn four and went full green, my ears
Yes.
went, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. My absolute all-time favorite experience, and back in the 70s when Oswego used to have the supers and the modifieds for the doubleheader shows. I always walked down to turn four when the modifieds came out to practice because they were even louder than the supers. They had mufflers on them at that
Oh
time.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
man, just you felt it in your bones when they were, getting on it coming out of the corner. And just had that, that growl it was incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad you got to have that experience because you've done a lot. And for those that are watching or listening to this, you obviously have done a lot in the sport, whether you're calling something or you're running a show or you're, whatever it is that you're doing. You've done TV, you've done a lot of that. And, there aren't so many sort of really kind of unique and, bucket list kind of experiences that you probably haven't done yet. But going back to Oswego for the first time in 20 years, anytime you can see the ISMA Super Modifieds with the wings at Oswego, where the track record is under 15 seconds, is a pretty crazy experience.
I think the one thing I think I want to add to the bucket list, and I don't know how to make this happen, but I'll probably figure it out, is I got to do the two-seater. I have never done a ride along in a race car. NASCAR, yeah. IndyCar, yeah, do an IndyCar. Super modified? Are you kidding me? Tomorrow.
Yes, me too. I've always wanted to do it too. I just have never been able to do it. But and then it doesn't really matter to me who drives it, but I just, my brother did it, and Kevin, I can't remember who he had for a driver. It might have been Joe Gozick, but I'm not sure. But Kevin said he told the driver, scare the hell out of me, and I'm like, well, gosh, I don't know. He could go 19 and a half. It would probably scare the hell out of me. So, but I would want him to break the track record if he could,
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me about doing a two-seater super modified ride and saying scare the hell out of me to the driver is that cockpit isn't big enough for a barf bag.
I wouldn't have to worry about that. I might have to worry about a different kind of problem, but the barf bag probably wouldn't be it. I did a two-seater drag race deal down here a couple of years ago, and we only went 150, and when that thing lit, like it for about 2 seconds, like I had to tell myself breathe, because I realized I wasn't breathing. And it's just, you get that jolt. I can't just I don't know how those guys do it, but yeah, that's the two-seater's always been something that. And by the way, if anybody's again watching or listening to this, Royce Silva's the guy who heads up that program, I think, still, as far as I know. Just find them online or reach out to the Speedway. They'll get you set up. It's a couple $100 or something to do it, worth every penny, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Hopefully at some point I'll get my chance to do that. But so what have you got going on now, Paul? You've been obviously you've done so much different. I know you're still working in radio as your day job. Talk a little bit about that, because frankly, I'm jealous, because I still wish I was working right alongside you. I miss radio terribly, but talk about what you got going there up in New York. You're running some radio stations, right?
Yeah, I'm operations manager for 7 radio stations that are scattered between Geneva, Auburn, and
Oh,
Penn
wow.
in the Finger Lakes region.
Okay.
And I've been here now, I think, 15 years.
Okay.
Started just as the morning guy on one station, became program director of one, and then two, and then we just kept adding on responsibilities to the
Wow.
point where it was finally, all right, you're operations manager, you're overseeing the whole programming side of the building. And I've been doing that now, I think, for the past 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And one of the things I decided to do this year, Tom, as far as racing goes, this is actually my 40th year in the business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm that old.
One
That's
more than me.
scary.
Well, I'm right with you. I'm going to be 59. So,
Well, I'm a couple years behind you there, but
all right.
yeah, I
Same
decided.
haircut.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, it just
No
got to
hair
the
club for men.
well, it just got to the point where I was listening anyway, and I'm just like, well, I'll just take it all away.
Yeah,
That's fine.
exactly.
I don't care.
I'm
It's low
almost,
maintenance that way, and
yes.
I mean, when you wear a cowboy hat to the races, ain't nobody looking to see where your hairline is anyway.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I decided this year that I wanted to have one night where I was going to focus on announcing and doing the live stream thing. So I'm doing that at Utica Rome on Flow Racing on Fridays.
Oh,
Insert
nice.
cheap plug here. And then Saturdays, I've kind of bounced around a little bit. I'm doing some speedway motorcycle races. If you've never seen that, it's
Oh,
insane.
I love it. Yep.
Yep. Not, the tracks here in the United States are not as big as they are in Europe. But if you go on YouTube and you look up like Industry Speedway in California,
Yeah.
you'll get a flavor of what United States Speedway is all about. It's again, it's like Oswego. It's a completely different, unique discipline of
For
motorsport
sure. Yeah.
that in the rest of the civilized world, I guess I would compare speedway motorcycle racing to World Cup soccer. The rest of the world is all agog about soccer, and America not so much.
Yeah.
The same thing is true of speedway racing. Is that in Europe and places abroad, they're all over it. Especially in Europe. But here in the United States, you've got our little pocket here on the East Coast. You've got the guys on the West Coast, and really nothing in between. So, but I've been doing that, and taking a chance to visit a couple of places, and just enjoy it.
That's
I've
great.
spent so I've spent so many years, chasing after the magic number of, oh yeah, I did 100 events last year. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, I did that when I was, 10 years ago when I was younger. I'm getting tired,
Yeah.
man.
You do.
I want to have a good time with this. So,
Yep.
I mean, and I'm still on the MRN standby list. I did 3 events for them over the past 2 or 3 years at Road America, Texas, at Talladega, and
Nice.
if they
I
called and
heard
said,
you
hey,
at Talladega. I heard that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and if they call me again, sure, I'll do it again. If they don't call me again, you know what? I got the chance to do it.
That's right.
So,
Off the bucket
uh,
list.
yeah, I crossed another one off the bucket list. So, yeah, I'm having fun right now. So,
That's great. That's it's good when you can get to that point. And of course, I'm sure the radio stuff keeps you plenty busy with all those stations and want to
Oh,
hear.
I could tell you stories today about, computers and servers and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, here
So.
again, I miss carts and pot boards with the round dials, and yeah, I miss all that stuff. Honestly, radio was so pure back then, and now it's kind of as packaged in a lot of ways as anything else is, and I think it's lost a lot of its luster because of it. But when you get a good hometown station, and I'm sure you have several in that group,
Yeah.
where it's still a community. We've got one here in Statesville called WSIC, and it's still really community oriented. That's, I think, radio is still the purest form of media in that sense because the you can't see anything, although now they all have live streams, so it gives it away. But it's so much kind of not sort of the face, but the voice and that communication to the audience. And so that's why when I do this show live or any live show on the internet, I love the fact that, and we haven't had much action in the chat tonight, but you get some chat action going, and that's what makes it fun. Because you get that interaction during the show as opposed to just throwing up something you recorded and letting people consume it. They get to be a part of it when it's live if they want to be.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, that's I would love to hear some of those stories. We'll have to talk off air at some point. But great to, I know that I want to be respectful of your time because I know you got to be up early to be on the air. And I remember those days at Star 105 and co-hosting the morning show. And Larry Trinka, who's in the chat with us, remembers me in those days. And a big slam of Mountain Dew got me through that shift every day. I wonder how I'm still here and don't have diabetes, to be honest. But I appreciate you being on. We're going to have you on the audio version of the show here a little later in the week, and we'll have more time to talk and talk about some old days, Frozen Ocean, and different places like that. In my journey as a racer and an announcer, those places were that's where I grew up and where I learned to do what I do. You were a big part of that, and you and I did some radio together, and was telling somebody the other day about doing Super Dirt Week on the radio for the first time, and how incredible that was. I can still picture us doing it to this day. And
crammed in a booth that was a little bit bigger than a phone booth.
Yeah, it's
basically. And I think there were three of us shoved in there.
4 of us at one point.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
At one point. And but then the second year doing it for AM 620, I think, out of Syracuse, and how Super Dirt Week actually outsold the entire Buffalo Bills season on the radio on that same station. And I still remember that. And it shows you how big racing is up there. And I always have felt blessed to have been a part of that. You were a mentor and a great friend to me as I was starting, and a lot of fun to work with, and I miss those days. So glad to have you back on for a little while. I know you got to run and get some shut eye before your early shift in the morning, but we'll have you back on the audio show and talk some more here. I'll get that set up with you tomorrow.
All right. Sounds like a plan, man. Thanks. Appreciate it. It's been real.
Yes, very much. Great to talk with you. That's Paul Small. He'll disappear off the screen here because he's got an early morning shift on the radio up there in Western New York. For those of you who've never been up there, it is absolutely an amazing thing. It's the part of New York that Paul was referencing, where a lot of his stations are, the Finger Lakes. It's kind of where Watkins Glen is, and it is a beautiful part of New York State. One of several parts of the state that are gorgeous. There was some up there that not so much, right? But that's everywhere. But so yeah, Paul was one of my early influencers, if you will, as an announcer and early radio broadcaster, and just had so much fun working with him over the years. So it's good to have him back on and talk talk some super modifieds and some other things. So, okay, let's dive into the other big news that came out over the weekend regarding the super modifieds, but this crosses over into North Carolina as well. We told you earlier in the week on SWN that Caraway Speedway has been sold. Gentleman's name is Robert Tyler, who bought it. Over the weekend, actually during the ISMA MSS race at Oswego Speedway, one of the ISMA folks announced, Raul Baum had on his social media, broke the news that the championship race for the ISMA MSS Super Modified Series this year that was scheduled for Caraway Speedway in November as part of their North-South Shootout race, canceled, which knocked my breath away, basically. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And so sent him a message like, what in the world is going on here? And immediately reached out to my couple of my contacts with Caraway Speedway, and was told that as it turns out, had nothing to do with the new owner. I had talked with Robert Tyler, and Robert was all about the running the North-South Shootout. He wasn't planning to tinker in any way with that event. Well, the North-South Shootout is a Hackett family event. So this is Darren Hackett, who currently owns Caraway Speedway. I'll give you a quick little history. The North-South Shootout event started at Concord Speedway when that was still open before it got shut down and sold. And it moved to Caraway Speedway a good bunch of years ago. And it's found a great home there. And I've tried to get there almost every year since it moved there as much as I could. And the Super Modifieds, ISMA Super Modifieds, came back 2024. Was their first year back to North Carolina since they ran at Concord for a few years in the early 2000s. Then the Midwest Super Modified group ran a race at Ace Speedway down here in Altamaha, North Carolina. But they came back, brought 22 cars, I think, the first year, or 23, can't remember which, and ended up every car broke the track record at Caraway that first year. It was fun to watch. They put on a great show, and then came back last year, put on another great show. Fans loved them. They really stole the show both years they were there. Well, the North-South Shootout as an event, Darren Hackett sold Caraway Speedway, didn't sell the North-South Shootout event. And they're moving that event to Southern National Motorsports Park. And I'm, as I did in my special report, I'm kind of jumping the shark here because there's been no official announcement, but I've been told that is what's happening. The event's moving. And was told by some folks from ISMA that they were told that they were welcomed back, but at a 75% purse decrease. So, I mean, that's just insulting. And so that wasn't going to happen. So the race was canceled, and it was not ISMA that canceled it. It was the event. So the new owner of Caraway had nothing whatsoever to do with it. Sad, really, but the consolation prize, and I that's probably really an ugly way to say it, because prior to the return to Caraway, they had established Evans Mills Raceway Park's John Burr Classic as their final event. After the Oswego Classic was over with, the Super Modifieds went to Evans Mills, or ISMA Supers went to Evans Mills, and that was the final event and was established as their championship race. The first 2 years that they've run here at Caraway, it was not the championship race. It was a non-points race, in fact, and still had a great turnout, and everybody loved it. Drivers loved it. Fans loved it. Makes no sense to me why, if you're Darren Hackett and Michael Diaz, why you would not be overjoyed to have the Supers back, especially since Southern National Motorsports Park had an ISMA show back in the 90s. I announced it. I was trying to figure out where the other track was that we ran that weekend. And I think it was Gord Hooper earlier that told me it was Orange County in Rougemont. And I was trying to think. I don't specifically remember that it was, but obviously I'll take his word for it, because he raced there. But I know we raced at Southern National, and again, just a perfect track for supers. It's a big half mile. I mean, it would have been a great race. So it's frustrating because, the supers, ISMA and MSS spent 2 years building the brand, and they showed up and showed out and put on great shows. And, now they're gone. So that's very frustrating. And others have said, well, be a great opportunity for another track to pick up a super modified show down here. And the reality is that it would be difficult to do it as a standalone. It worked perfectly at the North-South Shootout because you were coming into an established event. It's sort of like if you're a rock band and you go play Coachella or, whatever of the big rock festivals that go on out there, because now it's not all on you to be the promoter and all of that, and to come into an outside the market event, which there are no supers in North Carolina. It's so for the super modified division, it was the perfect way to come back to North Carolina because, again, being part of the North-South Shootout, like they were at Concord, it just makes that event that much bigger, and the supers share the load of sort of bringing crowd in and all of that with modifieds and such. And so it was the perfect storm. And so I think to have a standalone show, I don't think you would get the cars. You may get the cars if you promise the purse, but I think the problem you would have is you'd have to have something other than the supers to draw a lot of the locals who aren't necessarily that familiar with the supers, unless you did a whole lot of local promotion. So it would be a little more of a gamble, and you'd have to have a situation where it was feasible because ISMA demands a big purse. And in this case, it's hard to argue that because these guys are traveling from Canada. You got, who is it? Kyle Edwards, I think, right? Memphis, Tennessee, Midwest, New England, New York. And they were bringing big numbers, so I don't know what happened, but it's very frustrating, to be honest, to see that. And I hate it for the fans, because there are a lot of fans down here that really look forward to that, to seeing the super modifieds. And, I think it was kind of rotten the way that it all went down, but that's how it is. So the show's canceled, and Evans Mills gets the championship race back. And again, I'm happy for them because for those who are not familiar with Evans Mills Raceway Park, it is absolutely a gorgeous racing facility. The promoters there, the owners and promoters there, are just some of the nicest, most committed and dedicated racing people they're a racing family. The Gills really go out of their way to, they have beautified that track a ton. And so, look, I'm happy for them to have the championship race back, but I'm sad for me because obviously I'm down here in Carolina, and now unless I can get the Classic at Oswego or to Evans Mills, I won't see the Supers this year. But it was certainly very, Sunday was a bittersweet day because I loved being able to get up and watch the super modifieds at Oswego on a Sunday morning and know that, anyone that strayed onto Flow for whatever reason, I think there was only one live event. So the supers were kind of the star for a little while anyway. And they put on some great racing. And to see that happen in the middle of all that, to hear that, and then to sort of start to ask some questions of people and find out what I found out, that's sad. Now, on the other side of that coin, now we do eliminate something for the super modifieds that's somewhat positive, and that is the race down here was in direct conflict with the open wheel showdown that Davey Hamilton Jr. puts on out in Las Vegas at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the super modifieds 10,000 to win, just like the show here was. ISMA did it, and I think that put maybe a little pressure on Davey to feel like, he wanted to match it, which is nothing but good for super modifieds, right? And I think it should be that way, honestly. If you're going to have an open wheel showdown and you're going to have sprint cars and super modifieds and midgets, I think, you got three pretty big classes there. So I think it's great. And now some of the East Coast guys, I think Otto Sitterly's on the entry list. Who knows? Otto's at a point where Otto does what Otto wants, and bless him for it. He's earned that right. So I would suspect they'll probably go out there. Otto and the Cotra Racing team, they won it last time they went. I don't know why you wouldn't want to go back if you could. So now if Dave Danzer, who won when he went, Otto won when he went. So if any of the guys from the East Coast want to venture out to Vegas for a little while, they'll be able to do so and not worry about missing an ISMA championship race. And I also just realized, and somehow I was a little late to this memo, it looks like, if I saw this correctly earlier today, the Star Classic, which ended up in conflict with Evans Mills super modified championship event, the John Burr Classic, I think that conflict's been resolved too. So maybe we'll get some more participation from the ISMA set at Star Speedway in New Hampshire. So all of that, again, nothing but good. But it sucks, frankly, to see this race at Caraway. I worked really hard to try and find a sponsor, and it didn't happen, but I was talking with some companies about this year, and I actually think there was one I could have gotten, but obviously it's not going to be a race. So it's sad, but life goes on, I guess. It's just a shame that the event folks didn't value super modifieds enough to bring them back for a third year. I guess that's what you get when you steal the show from the established Southern classes for 2 years, right? Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about sprint cars here for a minute because, first of all, Knoxville. I don't know if any of you that are watching this live show are sprint car fans. I don't know if you've been watching Knoxville or not. I actually watched over the weekend. I watched Peevely. I watched the World of Outlaw Peevely show, and then of course watched Knoxville after that. And I'm psyched for the 410 Knoxville. But two things. Number one, Ryan Timms is one of the most amazing young talents that's come along in forever, right? I just can't say enough about this young man. Picks up the win in the Knoxville Nationals. And now look, there's three people in the history of sprint car racing. There's three people who have won both the 360 and 410 Knoxville Nationals in their career. One of them is Ryan Timms. The other two are legends, Danny the Dude Lasowski and Sammy Swindell. Anytime that you're mentioned for some piece of history in the same breath as Sammy Swindell and Danny Lasowski, son, you got it going. And Ryan Timms is looking for his second 410 Knoxville Nationals win in a row. He is just on a roll, man. He is a true talent and just a really nice, humble kid as well. So great to see him pull off what he did. Absolutely gutted, though, for Anthony Macri. Good grief. 3 major injuries in 11 months. Incredible. And not in a good way. It's crazy luck is what it is. Had a crash in the Capitani Classic over the weekend, ended up with a broken collarbone, bruised lung, and he'll be out of action for a few weeks at least. Man, I mean, he's young, and you know he's got a lot of my aunt used to say pep and vinegar, I think is the phrase. And Anthony will come back from this, but oh my goodness. I mean, that crash was scary. When I first saw that crash and I immediately saw the TV camera pan away, I got very nervous. I mean, you get that lump in your throat, like this could be bad. And I'm actually amazed that he came out of it with just, what he has for injuries, and thankful in a way, because it was a very bad crash. So certainly a tough time for Anthony Macri. Nothing's been said yet about whether or not he's going to be back, or whether Casey Kane may be back in the car, is what I was trying to say, or maybe someone else gets in it. But Macri is definitely going to have a little while out of it for sure. And two things that I wanted to quickly get in as well, sprint car wise, both pavement. Brady Allen and Jack Masinko, both rising young stars. Allen with a big victory on the pavement sprint car scene at Owasso. And Jack Masinko is just a young man that I think we're going to be hearing a lot about. Jacob Seelman interviewed them both. And so mark your calendar for next Monday at 8:00 on PowerTube TV, because you're going to see some of each of those interviews on the show. And so we did a lot with sprint cars and short track stuff on that show. Next Monday, 8:00, PowerTube TV for that. And that should be a lot of fun. Okay. And as we wrap up this live show, if you have any topics, questions in the chat, or questions, put them in the chat and let's talk about them. We still got a few minutes left. I want to get back to talking about Jeffrey Battle's win at Oswego, because again, for those who don't know much about Jeffrey, he's a New England racer, came up into 350 supers and just won about everything there was to win multiple times. When it came to the 350 Super Modified Classic at Oswego on Classic Weekend, if Jeff Battle was there, you pretty much figured he was going to win. And I think he's only lost maybe twice, in all of those, and joked at the top of the show that he'd think he's got the next 4-1, even though he's not racing in them. But Jeffrey is a true talent. And I also want to point out that if you didn't see this, on Sunday morning, Danny Sewell, who is the ISMA president. Danny is one of the hardest working men I know, honestly. That guy just is. His father, Jim Sewell, is a legendary super modified car owner in Oswego. And Danny, driver first, worked with his dad for a while and then got to start driving. And Danny had a great driving career. Now he's the owner of the beautiful blue Sewell Racing 32. Mo Lilgy is his driver. Mo was there Saturday night, but Mo had to scoot for Sunday morning. He had another commitment. So Danny needed a driver. And he reached for somebody that I really wish would get a better, real, long-term shot in a big block super modified. Kyle Perry, who has been he's been very successful in the 350 super class at Oswego. He runs on dirt with a sportsman car. Kyle, I think, is a young driver who, if you put him into a big block super and gave him the opportunity to get the seat time, I think he'd do very well. Well, he kind of got drafted and thrown to the wolves on Sunday morning, and I want to just thank Danny for doing that for Kyle. If you'll remember, the last time Danny Sewell needed a driver at Oswego in his super modified, who'd he reach for? Josh Sokolik. Juice Box Josh, who similarly was dominating the 350 division. And Josh went out and finished, I think, 11th in his first time in the super modified. And now, of course, has been driving for out of the same Jason Simmons racing team as Tyler Thompson. And, Josh has won races and just done a great job. And again, I think Josh is one of the most talented young racers in the country in any short track division. I think he's proven that. Already won a sportsman race. He's been successful with his sportsman modified on pavement, super modifieds. I mean, I think Josh is one of those drivers that can drive anything you put him in, much like his teammate Tyler Thompson. And so, not sure, hope Josh stays around for a while in the super, but boy, something tells me that it's just hard for someone like Josh who loves to race as much as he does. It's hard to only race the number of times that the super modifieds race. So, I hope that we can kind of keep him happy enough to make that sort of his mainstay and make sure he makes all the super modified races and then runs his other stuff around it. But boy, somebody like that, sometimes it's hard. And I think that's why another reason that it's just so frustrating with the Caraway situation, because I think that's just one less super modified race that we have. And, I was told over the weekend that, a lot of the drivers prefer the lighter schedule, but I get it. Travel's expensive, but parts are hard to get. But man, it's a different breed now. Back in the day, it's not just less cost for gas or whatever. That's not all it is. You had drivers back in the day that they would go anywhere to race their car, and now it seems like a lot of the guys, 10 times, that's enough. They don't want to do all of that. And I do know it's harder. Obviously, I think it's a little harder now. For some reason, it seems to be harder to get away from businesses and all that. And you don't have as many pure car owners either as you used to have. You have mostly driver owners, and that does make a difference. So, I don't know. We'll see where everything goes, but certainly a great turnout at Oswego on Sunday. It was a fantastic show. Loved watching the Knoxville Nationals over the weekend. And USAC has had a good year. The Silver Crowns, we'll have to do some conversating about the USAC divisions here on an upcoming Groove show. But really been fun to kind of get back fully into the open wheel set. And by the way, if you have a topic that you'd like to see us cover or a driver you'd like to see us interview, go to the SWM Media on Facebook. It's basically the channel you're watching this show on. Just send a message and say, hey, can you get this guy on or that person on, or can you talk about this? Always open to that. I mean, it's there's so much out there. It's hard to condense it all into an hour or so of conversation. But we're going to wrap this up now. There will be an audio Inside Groove. You got to watch the Facebook groups every day, the Super Modified, the Sprint Car groups, all of the short track groups on Facebook. And you got to watch SWM Media, because Facebook does not circulate when I post the audio show or a link to it. It just doesn't get the traction. Facebook doesn't share it because it's trying to get you off the platform, and it just doesn't. Even when I shared this last audio show as a video, I know a lot of people didn't even realize I'd put it out, even though I shared it in all the groups. So you got to keep watching every day on SWM Media. And the best way to make sure you get it and don't miss a thing we're doing with Steering Wheel Nation with SWN is to go in and subscribe to one of our channels. steeringwheelnation.com. We got all kinds of channels, and think of it like channels on the TV. Pick the ones you like with the content you like, subscribe to them, and every time content's loaded in there, you'll get a notification. If you set your notifications to on, we'll keep you. And then every Friday you get a newsletter that's customized to the channels you pick. So we do put all of our shows on the homepage, though, to feature them, so everybody gets those. So again, go join, go take advantage of that opportunity. It's what it's there for, and you won't miss anything. So we're going to close this up. Again, watch for the audio show on Thursday, I believe, of this week. We're going to try to get it out on Thursdays. That seems to be the way that I can get interviews and kind of process all of that in time to do it and get it out. So look for it on Thursday of this week, and busy racing weekend coming up. And, we're kind of all out from here. And by the way, watch SWM Media. Jacob Seelman is all over the Knoxville Nationals. I don't think outside of the official folks, from World Racing Group, Dirt Vision, all of that, I think by far and away, we got the best with Jacob Seelman, and he's going to be all over the Nationals this weekend. So make sure you look out for all of that coverage. With that, we're going to close this live show. Thanks for joining us, Larry. Appreciate it as always. A couple of folks strayed in and did sign in the chat. So thanks to everybody for watching. We hope that you all have a safe week, and we'll talk to you on the audio Inside Groove show on Thursday right here. Just watch for it so you can make sure that you can listen, and we'll talk to you then. Have a great week, everybody. So long.